Welcome back to the Secrets to Getting Clients Summit. We are here today with Kate. Kate is, as we call her, a badass, and she is, just a phenomenal, I can't say that word, but a phenomenal force in this marketing industry. And somebody who, if you have the opportunity to have her on your team, you want her on your team because she is going to rock it. She is one of the top 100 marketers, I believe, in the US, and along with running a company called She's in Business. And Kate also is teaching behind the scenes with us, funnels, websites, automation. So we are incredibly excited to have Kate with us today. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yay.
So happy to see you, Kate. So we're going to jump right in about as far as questions go and start talking about why everyone's here, which is all about getting clients. So my first question for you is, what has been your favorite, your most successful way to get clients? And then we're gonna break it down into steps.
Okay. So my favorite way to get clients is just by having sales conversations. And so that seems like a simple statement, but as much as I like all the big picture marketing and having lots of like fancy pants campaigns and all these things running, in the end, I've always found the best way is just having conversations with people who might need what you have or might know somebody who needs what you have, and making those connections.
Your connection, just so you know, is a little bit wonky. I don't know if it's where your mouthpiece is or if it's just the actual connection, but it sounds a little underwater.
It's probably because it probably fell.
There it is. Yes,
that's it.
Yes, you put it down your shirt. So
I try to hide it. It doesn't go well.
There we go. That's better.
Let it be free. Let the mic out. Release the mic. Okay, so you're saying that you would say, but we want to know is you get them into a sales conversation, but even before that, because if you imagine somebody's trying to get somebody into a sales conversation, take us back a couple more steps, because like seriously, you're like amazing with marketing. You're amazing at the connection piece. Walk us a little bit through that, where you're trying to get them into your world.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that people need to realize is that there's tons of people out there who have what you need. But sometimes in the beginning, when you're first starting, before you have reputation, before you kind of have systems in place to kind of bring people in on autopilot, is you have to make connections in those communities. So that's what's great about social media, is that there's these curated groups of people who are basically raising their hand and say, I have this problem that needs this solution, whether they're following people who offer a similar solution, whether they're in Facebook groups, whether they're going to LinkedIn events. There's these people just out there already identified for you. And sometimes in the beginning, before you have full clarity about how you're going to solve the exact problem that they need, it's reaching out to those people, not in even a sales way to start, and just asking like, hey, can you tell me about this thing that you need? Or can you tell me about what you're experiencing with this? Would you be willing to give some feedback? Basically, most people are willing to talk to you, especially if it's something that you have a problem with. And it's just initially having a conversation about how you can bring the value. And if they know anybody that you can connect with or anybody who might be interested in that, it's usually just having those connection calls, those collab calls, and getting into these micro communities, these customer groups, these getting in with like micro influencers who already have those lists curated. And that's how I started out, is I would just get on coffee calls with anyone. And I like to talk, but I'm not like an extrovert. I need space in between my conversations and all that. So even if you're an introvert, you can do this. Just having connection calls in the beginning and just asking people questions about what it is that you offer, what they need, what their problems are, who they know, who else that you can talk to, and starting to build a reputation, but also starting to build that network of people who know that you're out to solve this particular problem. And it really can snowball really fast when you keep your eyes wide open for opportunities.
So like you're in a conversation with somebody, and you say to them, I would love to learn, I'm going on LinkedIn. So I'm going to write them a little chat and say, hey, we're both in the group, the dentistry group. I don't know why I'm doing this as the example, but we're both in the dentistry group, and I'm looking to help dentists grow their practices. I would love to speak to you more. do you say then like that's what your intention is? Because then they might think, hey, I'm trying to work with you. Or do you actually say, I'd love to speak with you more because I'm trying to learn more about what it is, qualify it? What is,
Yeah.
or you just leave it open?
So in the beginning, I just say, hey, it's just a straight up collab call or a connection call. I just want to hear more about your problems. No pitch, because I wouldn't pitch necessarily on that call anyway. I would just be looking for ways we can collaborate and get to know one another. But I would also leave it open at the end if there is opportunity to do it, to like, hey, it sounds like we have something that might solve your problem. And then you can set another appointment. But that's a totally different kind of piece. Sometimes it's just about getting in there and getting yourself known. But another thing for people who aren't as comfortable with setting, like, hey, will you get on a call with me? You don't know who I am. Like, let's talk. Is another way to do that is in those curated groups, whether it's events or Facebook groups or posts or anything like that, whatever, kind of whatever platform you're using, is to put up what we call like hand raising posts. So what we're then doing is inviting people to connect with us, to talk with us. They might be interested either indirectly or directly at our offer. So you've seen them probably in groups. You say, hey, I'm this person, I have these questions, I'm doing this thing, I provide this value, and ask if people are willing to get on a call with you or willing to give you feedback. And then if they say yes, it's just a lot easier to have those conversations. And that's one of the methods we teach, is in kind of posting those things where we're asking people like, hey, are you interested in this? Or can you help me with this? Or, hey, I'm looking for case study clients for this even. Are you, do you need this problem solved? Let's get on a sales call. It's just kind of opening up yourself to people saying, yeah, I want your help. Or yes, I'm willing to talk to you, or yes, I know people I can refer to you, and then getting on calls with them and having conversations.
Okay, so that's more of an exploratory thing. We're not actually pitching there. We're kind of just doing the straight up connection. Is there like a soft mention at the end of saying like, okay, I actually can help with this sort of thing. I'd love to talk to you further, or do you not go there?
So I think it depends. I would say, in a percentage of calls, you would say that, yeah, like, let's move this to a discovery call if you're vibing and it's, there's areas to collaborate in that way, to work together. Sometimes it ends up where you're talking to them and it doesn't lead anywhere, and it's clear it's not, like, you wouldn't work well together or whatever. But I would then set up a call like, hey, we actually have this thing. It sounds like it actually might be helpful for you. Is that something you'd be interested in? We could set up another call and talk about that. I want to keep this focused on, collaboration, but we do have this thing that could solve your problem. If you want to talk about this more, let's set up a call now. And then I would set up an initial call. So for me, that's one of the easiest ways to get clients in the beginning. I always have clients who are just starting out make a list of 100 people that are already in their personal connections, their personal network, who might either be somebody that would be interested or might know somebody who would be interested, and just start letting people know what they're doing, what they're offering. Generally, hey, is this something you might need help with? This is something you might be interested in, or do you know somebody who might be interested in? You can make an introduction. A lot of times people don't know what we're actually doing.
Yes, it's really true. And it's so powerful. It's really stepping in your power to tell people. And it's coming to me just to ask you this because, Kate, you've been doing this for so long and you have such a level of confidence and authority and expertise in what you do. And what if someone is struggling with that confidence to reach out to someone on Facebook and they feel totally blocked and stunted? Do you have any words of wisdom for them?
Yeah, so that's when I think the Dream 100 is what we call. Some people use Dream 100 for something else, but this list of 100 people who you somewhat know, who you would still be comfortable talking to. And even if you start with the people you're most comfortable with, and just working on just getting on a call with them, talking about what you're doing, having a conversation that's not necessarily direct sales related, and just having a conversation with people you're already comfortable with, that can start to kind of get you out of your shell. Sometimes you just need to talk, because you could sit in the mirror and talk about your program and talk about your product, but then you get in front of somebody, or then you think about telling somebody about what you're doing and you're freeze. So sometimes just going through it a bunch of times to somebody, but who still feels safe
Yeah.
to you and has your back, can be really helpful to start doing that. And once you start to get positive feedback, so you work back, so you work from the people you know the best, who are going to be the most supportive, to people all the way who are in your just general contact list, friends lists, or whatever. You work from most comfortable for yourself to least comfortable. You get more and more confidence along the way. And the more and more positive feedback you're getting about what you're doing also gives you a huge confident boost. Even if it's somebody you know, like if the first person you ever talk to about it is doing a practice call with your mother, and you know she's going to be super, like, either way, that's fine. Sometimes talking to our family is like the hardest, but just starting with those little bits and just say, hey, mom or friend or whatever, like, what really stood out to you that I was talking about? What did you feel really connected with me on? And then moving closer and closer to getting a tiny bit more uncomfortable through going through that list.
I love this.
And having those conversations, because you got to practice it. You're not just going to be able to, like, most of us didn't start in this world, and you're not going to just be able, some people can just go out there and on day one start prospecting and having sales conversations. Most people just need a ramp up. You gotta practice, just like anything else. So do it in a way that feels safe for you first, and just start just chipping away at getting a little bit more uncomfortable over time, if that's something that you're nervous about.
I love that. And there's actually physiology behind that, because once the brain, the curve of getting more comfortable is so much quicker than you think, because you're in fight or flight when you're nervous, right? And once your brain senses that there is no real danger in talking to people about your program, you will get more and more comfortable as you go on. So I love that kind of rating the 100 of, most comfortable, and then challenging yourself as you go on and gaining that confidence with the people that you are most comfortable with and feel safe with. I think that's a great tip.
And a lot of times it's repeatable stuff. You're going to be repeating the same kinds of things on all the calls. So even that, just getting where you're in a rhythm, where you kind of know what you're going to talk about, when what you want to say, can take a huge piece of the of the nervousness out, because at least you got that part figured out. You feel practice. You feel like you're flowing in that. Then you can worry about the interaction with the person and asking them questions, or however you want to lead the conversation. But don't get on your very first sales call for like a $20,000 offer you've never sold before. I mean, if you do, that's awesome. But if you have nervousness around it, get some practice in first.
It's totally true, because otherwise you end up shooting yourself in the foot. If you're nervous, you might have the most amazing product. But if you're nervous, and we talk about this in Ucoachia, a lot of sales is just confidence. And if people will buy into your belief in yourself and what you're doing. And if you are able to share them, that's just through practice, and you can fake it. But it is straight up practice. And what Kate's saying, 100% on point. I can imagine, I know for me, like telling my family and talking to them is higher on my flight or fight scale than
everyone's different.
Than a complete stranger. Like, I'm better served practicing with a random person than somebody that I'm like, oh my gosh, what do they think? So
I think too, like you said, I mean, if you have to kind of feel like what feels right. So like, that's why community is really important, especially when you're first starting. It's like, you could go make it Ucoachia friends, and you can say, hey, can I just pitch this idea to you? They have no bias. There's nothing in it for them or not in it for them. There's no, they're just there to support, but they're also going to tell you what you might want to improve on, or points that like they get stuck on. Like our clients, we get together and do little pitch fests. We're like, hey, you can 5 to 10 minutes, tell everybody about your program. And then everybody goes around and like, hey, this really resonated for me. I was confused on this. And it's really supportive, because we're all like doing it, and it's like uncomfortable for everybody, for sure. But like, you also have that. So even if it's just setting up, hey, I'm going to have this conversation with somebody else who's starting, or who's a little further along than me, who can just listen, then that can be it too. And just kind of getting used to going through the motions, because you can do all the social media marketing you want, which I love. You can do all the video marketing you want, which I love. But if you can't have sales conversations, especially in the coaching space, it's going to be real hard to get where you want to go.
Yeah, exactly. Because especially because a lot of people want people to make the offer to them. Like if I'm presenting Ucoachia, the dream is for somebody to say, "Oh my gosh, yes, like, let me throw money at you."
Yeah.
But people don't do that. You have to ask them. So if you're not in that space of feeling confident and saying, "I have this offer, let me, would you be interested in joining me?"
Mhm.
Nobody's signing up.
No.
Right.
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 No.
Right.
So I love that. Like the idea of a safe space, that might be something we might end up creating.
I already wrote it down, Nancy. Ready?
Okay. If you guys are like new to this entire summit, we are
Constantly adjusting.
creating. Yeah, it's fun.
One of my brilliant first coach, she used to say, Harley, I want you to practice saying your prices until it's like, hand me the salt.
Right.
Like go through your house as you're walking down the stairs, as you're doing this. My 6-month program is da 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 da, so that it's just, you take the trigger out of it.
Right.
And that's really important to understand, that you do need to practice, because your body, you're up against your physiology. Your body is against you. Your body's trying to protect you and say, no, don't do this. This is too scary, but you can do it. You can do it.
Well, and two, we're like so inside of our head, especially when we're
Yes.
like first starting and growing, like figuring out what the heck we're even doing. Like we know we can bring value to the world. We know what we have is special. We know that we can make it work. We know those things inherently, even if we have some self-doubt about it.
Yep.
But we also have these like voices inside of our heads, especially in the beginning, before we've had our product confirmed over and reaffirmed over and over and over again through purchases. We were like, hey, people are going to judge us. People are going to think this is too expensive. People are going to think it's not worth it. People are going to think I don't know what I'm talking about. People are going to think I'm not experienced enough. We have all of these like internal dialogue or monologues going that no one else is thinking literally any of that. And if they do, they're not going to be getting on a call with you. There are
client.
Yeah, they're not going to be, and so good. Like, let's not waste our time on them. But once we can, those things will always be there a little bit, especially like when you're trying something new. You could be making $1 million if you're like, oh, I'm going to launch this new thing. It's scary, and those things come back, but you've had the practice of, hey, I know that's actually not true. It doesn't mean my product is perfect. It doesn't mean my presentation is perfect. It doesn't mean I'm not going to evolve my program, but I know that I can do this, and I know that I can, and it just makes everything so much easier down the road, because you've gone through that process and you can kind of quiet those demons and say, okay, no, what I have to offer is worth every penny.
Yep.
It's actually a great deal, whatever it is. I can create true transformation for people. I know what I'm talking about, even if there's people who are 100 times more experienced than I am in the market. I'm not pretending that I know more than I do. I'm an expert at this one thing, or this one transformation, and people will buy it. I just have to get better at communicating its value. And I can only do that by silencing the demons and talking through it, both in my sales, my marketing, and my sales conversations.
100% true. Now, this leads me though to my question. So we're starting out. Yeah. I like the time machine thing. We're going back. And you're literally just starting out and you're fresh out. Like, what would you have told yourself? What would you have done differently? What do you think would have made a huge shift or fast forwarded you to where you are now?
I think if I could go back in a time machine,
I mean, we're only going to business stuff. I mean, like, I would have chosen like buy Apple stock a couple years ago.
Yes. I think that when I first started out, I didn't value what I was doing enough. So what we were charging for what we were doing was ridiculously low. I would have started higher ticket, and just put every ounce of my effort into making those clients' experiences amazing, and going from there. I would have stuck with things longer for sure. Like, it's really easy to just try to throw spaghetti at the wall, which some of that you got to do because you're not exactly sure what's going to stick. But then when you get something you feel really good about and you're getting some response back, is just sticking with it for, say, I'm going to stick with this offer, this program, this way for the next 6 months, see how it performs, see if I'm getting momentum, and not just like, okay, it's been 2 weeks. I didn't get any sales yet. I just start, we have to have realistic expectations. And the other thing I would have been doing is having more conversations with people directly and telling them about what we did instead of you got to have the, a funnel or landing page or someplace to send people to so they can get involved for short term or long term. But I think it's just telling people what I do instead of like, hey, this is what I do. Do you need this? Like, I just like to go straight for it now. I wouldn't have spent so much time being flowery about it and, all these, long-term strategies when I just needed to get X amount of clients. I would have just focused straight on that. So I think it's just really easy when you're first coming in to get a lot of, there's these gurus out there who they tell you all of these different things that you should be doing, but it's really, they're telling you things that you should be doing maybe 10 years from now or $100,000 from now or whatever, or they don't set the expectation like, yeah, you should be doing these things, but it's going to take you 1 year to see a true impact from it. And so it's really easy when you're new and you just don't know who to trust. Like, what things should I be following? That's why I liked Ucoachia so much, because I was like, oh, this is exactly what people need, all the different pieces of information, but framed in a way that's unbiased and that shows people what are the essential pieces, to their business and getting started and growing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. One of the things, excuse me. One of the things that you said that I would just want to highlight is the sticking with something for 6 months. In the beginning, it can be so easy to get distracted and want to blame either our niche or what we're doing for the lack of results instead of really taking ownership of our consistency and what we're doing. And sometimes the gold is 20 feet down. And if you stop digging at 10 feet just to go dig another 10-foot hole just to change again, it's a lot of wasted energy. So in those moments when you feel like you want to give up and shift, really, I tell my clients just to really check in with what you've been doing, take the power back. It's not outside of you. The power is within you. So I loved that you highlighted that, because I think that's a really tricky trap in the beginning, is to change courses frequently.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's hard too, because we don't, we don't actually have enough data points when we're just starting out. Like now, if we're launching a new product, I say, okay, I'm going to throw 10K into this in ads. And I'm going to see what the conversion rates are, how many people I can get on a call, and then we can make more rapid changes because we've got all these data points coming in. When you're first starting, unless you have a ton of capital, you don't have that opportunity. So you're creating these data points for yourself. So if you haven't talked to at least 100 people on the phone about what you're offering, you have no data to say, oh, this is going to work, or this is not going to work, or
hallelujah,
I need to try something else. Like, we always want to get as many data points. Think if you were like a scientist, like if you were a scientist in a lab and your product was the thing that people were studying, and you were saying, oh, well, I talked to 5 people, no one bought it. So I'm scrapping it. I'm going this whole other way. I'm changing my whole thing. It's going to take me 6 months to develop this new course because those 5 sales calls didn't work. Obviously, objectively, you would look at that and you would say, like, well, that's ridiculous if you were looking at somebody else's. But we do that all the time because we are only paying attention to the data points that are coming into us, and we have emotional attachment to them, because hearing no when you're first starting, or not getting momentum on a marketing effort or whatever it is in the beginning, it seems personal. And so it's really easy to just blow up that piece. Like, if I get on 10 sales calls, I only expect maybe 2 to say yes, right? Depending on the offer, right? The price, how much I warm them up. But I'm good at a 20 to 30%. So most people are going to say no, even now. Even though I've got case studies, I've got the program, I've got all the things, but people are still going to say no. So understanding that you got to get on a lot of calls, you've got to get your landing pages in front of a lot of people, you got to make a lot of effort in the beginning to get the data points before you switch gears and say, hey, this didn't work. Usually it's literally just a numbers game. So you just need more numbers. There's nothing wrong with the offer necessarily. There might be, but it's usually not something so significant that no one will buy, because your offer is that horrible and your program is horrible. It's not usually like that. It's just that you haven't had enough touch points.
I love that. I love that. Well, yeah, we both, I mean, like, it's so easy. I mean, you can pivot to me, it's like you can pivot within your offer. Like you look at the things, I like to look at what can I control? What can I control? So I can't control a lot of things as much as, if you guys know me, you will know that I love to, but I cannot. So but you can look at what you can control, and then you can start doing A/B testing. Like, is this working versus this? So if I'm making an offer, if I change this word,
Right.
will this garner different results? And start testing things out to go see what's going on, rather than just going on the emotional thing of this isn't working, nobody's buying, it's not happening, I'm a failure, this is never going to work, I give up.
Right.
That's not really necessarily the best way to go. Like,
right. And too, and as you get more experience, you do start to see, like you see, like when you're first starting, it's like you could put a sales page up, you could follow every, instruction from every class, and you don't really know what you're looking at because you don't know what you don't know yet.
Right.
So like the more experienced you are, so somebody like Nancy and Harley, like they've been in this world forever, so they can make faster decisions even without as many data points because they start seeing the trends. So when you can start to see the trends, then you don't have to necessarily wait 6 months or whatever the period you want to wait is to perfect everything, because you start to identify, oh, this is trending in that way, and you're able to make adaptations or evolve things a little bit. So that's the advantage to just being in the game longer. And so you just got to stick with it, and you'll learn too over time. And it's going to be unique for everybody, kind of what those, like, oh, maybe this sales page isn't resonating, or maybe it's just this one thing, or maybe it's the price just needs to be tweaked. You're not going to know that until you've been doing it for a bit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like sometimes it's a small thing, like I always use an example of chocolate cake and understanding the marketing, because you might be selling chocolate cake, but people want double fudge. It's the same freaking thing, but you put up a sales page that says I have a double fudge cake, all of a sudden everyone's buying it. You don't know that until you're learning from them what it is they want, and you learn that in a sales conversation.
Yes.
When you start saying I have a chocolate cake and they come back and they're like, I wish it was double fudge. You'd be like, what?
Right. It's like,
with you.
Right. And you can't know that until you get on calls. Like there's just no, because people hate, most people hate getting on sales calls. Like nobody enjoys it. Most, like I do at this point, but I did at first. Most people, they're scared to death of getting on sales calls. But what I always think of it is like, I want as many no's as possible in the beginning. I want to hear, what are they saying no about? What are they actually lighting up on? What's holding them back? Because that's not only just going to affect the way that I sell on the phone, but it's going to affect everything on my funnels, my sales pages. And then I record every sales call, and I just make sure that I go back, I take little pieces of language that everybody says and say, oh, well, that's interesting. Like I never thought that was a good point about my program. I didn't think it meant anything, or I didn't know that people didn't know what this industry standard term meant, and that's hanging them up. But you just can't know it, at least not quickly, until you just have tons of conversations and get people to say no, and then hopefully a few people to say yes too. But then you can adjust all of those things, and then you can A/B test it, because it's in the words of your prospect, which that's golden.
Gold. And I think going in with an intention of, in your initial sales calls, to detach from the outcome, right? Like I think a common mistake in the beginning is to really, like, you have all your eggs in this one basket. You found this one person to get on the phone with you, and it needs to go well, and you need to, and it's like, no. This is like almost like market research. Just see it like market research, and just get on with as many people as possible, and go in embracing the no, instead of, using it to tell you your worth. Right.
When you start to see the no as just a stepping point to get to the yes. So if I know over time that I'm going to close 2 to 3 clients out of 10 at on my high ticket offer, that no I get, I'm like, okay, well, I got 6 more no's to go, and then I'll get my yes. And so it's just like, okay, I'm just going to get there quicker. So the more no's I can get this week. And obviously it doesn't technically work that way, but like, that's how I always think about it. Oh, I just got to get, Just got to get these data points in so I can get closer to the yes. And then it's just a lot less upsetting. And you never know if that client will come back later, but there's always something you can learn from every single call about yourself or about the offer when you can emotionally detach a little bit or compartmentalize it, at least temporarily. Like
Yes.
I said, if you can look at it like that as, hey, this is research and development right here. Like I'm just going to, take everything as a learning experience for these first 100 calls. And if I close some people, cool. But otherwise, it's just, I'm just learning. And so that's where too, and that's, everybody's like, well, you always talk about these sales conversations and you're like a techie person and automations and funnels. And so where those come in? Where those come in is we set our systems up around us to make sure that the consistency is there to get those people on calls, to get the follow-up, to make sure that they show up, to get people in your kind of book of business that you can work those and actually get them on calls. And then you can track how those calls are going. So that's a lot of times that what people need. It's really hard for us to be consistent to get those numbers. Well, how do you get 100 sales calls? Well, you got to prospect those, but then you got to get them on a call. You got to get them to apply. You got to get certain data information. You got to get them on the calendar. You got to remind them that it's coming up. You got to send them case studies or testimonials or whatever it is about your program. So having those systems in place then starts to automate as much of it as possible. So you can just show up and hop on a sales call or two every morning, and then it's just there and the follow-up is there. And so that's what we usually teach in the beginning is let your systems support your ability to consistently get on calls so you can get those data points, you can get the confidence, and hopefully you can start making some sales.
Right.
Mary asked a question. She wants to know, what platform have you had good success with and easier data point collection for marketing?
So Ucoachia actually has one. That is
what?
It's called Business in a Box. And that's actually what I use. And it's amazing. And everything about it allows me to literally, I don't do anything except pretty much show up to my sales calls. I know that everything's taken care of on the back end. And I can look at data points after. I keep my notes in there. I have my little lead lists, according to like where they came in from or what they might be interested in. I've got a really simple pipeline so I can see, okay, this is how many people I talked to this week. This is where they are in my sales cycle. And that can be really simple. If you don't know what that means, you can make it as simple or complex as you want. And then I can communicate to everybody in that inbox. So they have like a universal inbox where your emails, your social media, your all of your communications come to in one place. So that way I can be really consistent on custom questions that come in and I'm answering them really, really fast. I can have my team answer them. So that's been the most helpful piece, is having all the things in one place. So people come into my funnels, they fill out my forms, everybody's in this like one centralized hub, and then I can work them from there.
Yeah. It makes life so much easier because before using BIB Business in a Box, we were everywhere. Like, so you're trying to like, and then I don't know about you guys, but remembering passwords is no great shakes.
Yeah.
So like I'd be on Acuity or Calendly for, I think I had both because I was trying to do like 3 stuff.
Yeah,
so
you had like more than that, I think.
I do. I am notorious. I think I have 11 calendars. I live in Maine. So Kate knows she's dealing with it right now. And so Acuity and Calendly, I had MailerLite because I was trying to do automation stuff, but I was trying to like get around paying for things basically. Yes. And you can do things without paying, but the problem is there's limitations on what you can do. And then you have to deal with 1,000 coordinating all these things and then trying to remember how this one speaks to this one, and you're the intermediary, you're the point between these things. And sometimes, I'm not saying for you, but sometimes I might be the clog in the machine. Like I might be the problem because I would get information from here and then I'd forget to put it here. So the problem was right here. Yeah. And so this system makes things much easier because we can, like when you guys registered for the summit, it goes automatically into the system. And then we have trigger emails set up to let you guys know. And then those texts that you guys are getting are all triggered out. We can set all that up automatically. And then if you book an appointment, like you want to learn more about Ucoachia, you can book an appointment through that system. It brings it into the CRM. It does it all in one place so that your head doesn't have to explode trying to remember
Yes.
what's going on with what. It's a game changer.
It's just, we're humans, and especially for us coaches or people in this kind of expert space, we didn't get in this to like sit and learn every single piece of tech and
Nope.
like who need 10 different pieces of software open at one time just to
Or
manage
even
your,
one,
like,
or even one piece of tech.
right. I mean, you know, it's ridiculous. And then we used to actually, part of our digital marketing services was we would set up all these automations to speak to all of these different pieces of software back in the day. And we're talking like $20,000 worth of builds just to get everything to work cohesively and talk to one another. And it's just so mind-boggling that nobody came up with anything before now that like could be in one place. So kudos to you guys, because it's amazing.
We're very grateful for it. We really are.
Yeah, keep it all up. We love it. It's the best.
I know.
It's the best.
It's the best. So I want to, we were talking before about, getting our nerves out and being in a community and understanding that other people are going through this too, and understanding that it's it's a longer journey, right? And that's opposed to some of the stories out there of the quick cash, easy, how this is easy and I have the trick for you, and if you come and you take my program, boom, 30 days, you're going to have this much. And so part of this summit, what we feel really passionate about, this is such a big reason why we're here, is because of the dishonesty that's out there. We just want to educate people. So with that, I want to ask you, what is your current biggest pet peeve with the current coaching industry?
I think it's that in general. I think that so I don't believe that there's any one way to do business, and there's not any one way to grow, or there's not one way to succeed. I think there's shortcuts for sure. And I think it's okay to talk about those shortcuts in this space and like, hey, I do have this shortcut, but people need to represent it for what it is. Like, I'm not telling you that I can get you to 7 figures from this one little program that you're going to take from me. But I can say, hey, I'm going to show you how I did XYZ, how I got my first client or my first 10 clients or whatever it is. I think it's just in our space is misrepresenting the expertise of the program and the actual results that people can realistically get. Like you go to everybody's like bottom, tiny writing on any guru's site. It's like, none of these are typical. None of these results are typical. And your money back guarantee means that you have done everything perfectly to the T. Like, there's just no, right. And there's just not honesty in it of like, just say what it is. Just if you want to have a guarantee, if you want to do that, just be honest with it. Hey, we'll keep working with you until we can get you to the point. I'm not going to say that I'm going to get you to 7 figures in 30 days. That's crazy, right? Yeah. But like, kind of understanding, people just need to be more honest in their marketing and more direct. Mm-hmm. I feel like people always think that marketing and sales is dishonest because people have been dishonest at it for so long, and it doesn't have to be. No. Like, sales conversations are not about having, like hard selling somebody and twisting their arms and forcing them. I've been on sales calls where they like won't let me off the call, and I'm like, do you think that I'm going to buy? And if I do buy, that I'm not going to later just feel really nasty about this? Like, it can feel good. It can be honest. And I think that it's a shame because now we have all of these amazing coaches coming down the market who have really awesome things to share, and they're being dishonestly marketed to, and they don't really know what they're getting into. Right. You could go make $1 million this year. People have done it. Yeah. It's completely possible. Completely possible. It's highly unlikely, statistically speaking, because it's a process. Like a business is a business is a business. Whether you have a brick and mortar or an online business, all of the same concepts apply. So anybody who's telling you that there's some massive shortcut to get to a big result, and the only way that you can get there is through their process, and there's no other way to get there, then I would immediately doubt pretty much everything they have to say.
Yes, because it's all a load of hoo-hoo. Right. All of it. Like, I mean, it's To me, like the idea that somebody's going to work with you until you make that amount of money, they're also counting on the fact that you're going to lose interest.
Right.
And
right.
that you're going to absolutely, like, I know somebody personally who spent $25,000. $25,000. They went to 2 webinars, got completely sucked in, and they spent 25 grand on a program that was guaranteed to make them 6 figures within 60 days. And if they did not make that 6 figures, they would be worked with until the day they did. That's nice, except for let's talk about what they're doing today and whether or not they're still working with that company who made that guarantee. No, they're not, because they realize that they're never going to make the money, but the company doesn't have to pay them back because the person said, they said, I'll work with you forever. The
Right.
person isn't there anymore. Therefore, the fault falls on the client.
Right.
So who got rich in that? Who got the 6 figures
Yeah.
in 60 days?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's the thing of like, there's always like, so any clients that you take in, there's always the percentage who, no matter how many resources you provide them or how much they're just not going to do the work. Okay.
Right.
So like not counting them, because there's always that percentage of people.
Yep.
There's nothing you can do no matter how hard you try, and you can never quite figure out what the problem is. It just is the way that it is, none of your business. But what is the big majority? What's the 60% of people who are an average person who's not going to apply everything perfectly, who is going to miss some webinars or going to miss some group coaching, or they've got kids, they've got work, they've got this, they've got that. They're going to do it imperfectly, but if they put effort in, what can they reasonably achieve in the time frame that you're saying that they can achieve it?
Mhm.
That's what you're looking for. You're not looking for the top A players.
Right.
You're not looking at the bottom, because you always got those, no matter what. No matter how great your program is or bad your program is. What's that middle 60%? What can they reasonably achieve? And that to me is the ROI that you want to communicate to people, that, hey, you put the effort in, because they got to do some stuff too, and you got to hold them accountable, to do the work. You can't do it for them, but like just making promises that are ethical, like that you can sleep at night,
Right.
knowing that you didn't mislead somebody on what you could actually provide, I think is key.
And I love what you're saying, and I want to normalize making that 60% as exciting as that top 1%.
Right.
Because that's what it's to show the one person in their company that had these incredible results. It's sexy, it's exciting, it's flashy, right? But I love what you're saying, because it's not real. That's not real. It's, we don't know where that person came from, how much, money they have to throw at this, if they have, how many VAs they have working for them, So I want to normalize that 60% as being what we hold up. Honestly, I love that.
I love that. Yes. I'm going to ask our favorite question of the day, our favorite, which is, so, and I've said, like, we are huge fans of yours.
Huge.
And like huge. So, but like,
actually, I shouldn't say
that. But like you have gotten us all the platform. You've created the back end for us. You've made our business so much easier to do, and you've done it just with amazing care. And then you also run an amazing company. You have a team underneath you. Like, we call you're like a freaking badass.
Yeah.
When we were like thinking tech, automation, websites, you were obviously our dream person. We're like, hey,
Yes.
Why did you come to Ucoachia? Because like, and I say it like that because like you guys, from our perspective, like, she's amazing. And we have all these amazing people who have joined Ucoachia, and each one of them were like, you see the vision, you get it. And it's such a great feeling from our side.
Yeah.
But we want to understand from your side what brought you into the fold, into the family.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what I think about coaches in general. Because I'm not a coach, maybe I do some group, but I'm not like a traditional coach in the way that most people coach. But I've always, for the last like 8 years, we've worked solely with coaches. And the reason for that is because I believe that coaches can truly change the world. And I don't want to be flowery about it.
That's true.
I think that they have the ability to transform people's lives one-on-one. They have the ability to transform lives in mass from groups and teaching and all this, but they also have the ability to transform their own lives, their own wealth, generational wealth, their own future and the future of their families, their friends, people around them. And I think that every single coach that gets out there, and they don't have to go make 7 figures. That doesn't have to be the dream, right? They can just go make some side cash to like help their family be more comfortable. They can just go replace their income so that they can get out of their job and live more of a life that they want to live. Whatever the goal is for them, they can achieve it through coaching. And it doesn't have to necessarily take 10 years to just get to some of those goals. You can do it quick. You can, figure it out. It's achievable. Where I just think the more coaches who have a little bit of sound business knowledge to start, that's unbiased business knowledge and business teaching and strategy, that's ages old, that's not just little tactics all over the place that there's paying $25,000 to get from a guru. Like, to me, that makes it so much more attainable for people to have these businesses and lives that they've been dreaming about. So when I heard about Ucoachia, I thought, well, that's exactly what the coaching industry needs, is they need all of these experts who have been there, done that, made the mistakes, because that's the biggest way you learn in business, is making a lot of really expensive and dumb mistakes. People can, you just don't know what you don't know. And they could come together in these area of expertise and really give people the information that they needed to actually know, not the information that just moved them towards some bigger sale, right? So to me, it seemed like, and of course, all those people have their own programs and that sort of thing. But when I heard, we got somebody coming in from Profit First and bookkeeping, we have somebody coming in talking about video confidence and making, like, my favorite's video. So you gotta, I'm biased. We got somebody coming in and talking about social media marketing. We got people coming in talking about sales and all of these different things that are so important for people to understand, that can give them a comprehensive base and foundation. Like I was totally in, and that it was actually affordable. Yeah. Because let's face it, what a lot of people think is affordable for business owners are not necessarily affordable for coaches. A lot of us do not have $25,000 sitting there to invest in a program right now, right away. These are usually, we're all taking money out of our, out of our 401k, or we're taking, we're bootstrapping. We don't have venture capital. We're in a totally different position than a lot of business industries. So something that was affordable, attainable, understandable, and followed an unbiased best practice strategy that people would be coming in to learn. Mm-hmm. Like I was totally in.
We were so excited.
Yes. Oh my God. I cried. I did. I love that. And I love how you highlight the power of coaches. And, coach, online entrepreneur, they're somewhat interchangeable in our world, but I agree with you. People, coach, that's the other passion of ours, is to kind of preserve the integrity of this profession, right? Because there are people out there, and I love what you said, the information they need to know, not just the information that's going to get them to the next sale.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I just got chills on that one.
Building
that is a truth bomb right there.
Yeah.
Education they actually need for their business, not education that leads them to buy their next product from you. And that's what's going on currently. So thank you for outlining that. And thank you for being with us. It's such an honor. It's such an honor, Kate, to have you.
Thank you for having me. This has been an amazing summit. I can't believe how much value it had. So thank you for having me and for putting it on. And I hope everybody's gotten as much as I've gotten watching all the speakers.
Awesome. It's so much fun. Just so you guys know, we're going to drop a link. So if you have any questions about Ucoachia, if you want to learn more about it, if you want to see some of the crazy bonuses we have going on, which we've talked about some a little bit, but they're tiered. So you get like month 1 bonuses, month 2, and those are set up to help you build your actual business. It's not just throwing things at you, but it's throwing things at you that you need when you need it. So we wanted to make sure that you guys were set up for success with that. So I'm going to throw the link in. And if you have any questions about Ucoachia, about anything, we are here to help you. You can also email us. I'll throw that in as well. It's ucoachia@gmail.com.
And does anyone have any questions for Kate before we wrap up? Anything? No, question that's too basic. Anything, because this is a great opportunity to have her here. Anybody.
And if you do not, you guys, if something comes up later that you want to ask, you can also email us about that. I want to, what social media platform is your best for marketing? Mary, Shireen wants to know that. No, Mary wants to know that. Mary.
So for bigger picture marketing is Facebook. Like if we're talking about pay-per-click ads, that sort of thing, general actual advertising. For outreach, prospecting, sales conversations, it's LinkedIn, hands down. But I always tell people it's wherever you feel most comfortable and wherever you can really just dive in. I always say like master one platform first, because there's opportunities in every single platform. The tactics of it and like how you get to people might be a little bit different, but go where you're most comfortable first, because if you have to learn a whole new platform and how it all works and you don't need to do that. There are plenty of opportunities for everybody, no matter what you're most used to. If you're on Twitter, like I don't know anything about Twitter, so I don't go on Twitter, but I know people who get a lot of clients from Twitter. Like whatever you're comfortable with, go with that first. But if for me, advertising, Facebook, actual prospecting and getting on conversations is LinkedIn.
I mean, I think you would also agree, Kate, that it's very valuable to think about where your audience hangs out too, right? Like what your niche is, who your people are, and what platform they're using most.
Right.
That's another, interesting way to go at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and do you guys have did we give you my sales calculator Google sheet?
No.
Oh, but
no, now we wanted
Sarah,
immediately.
can you pull that and put it in the chat? So we have a Google sheet that we give to everybody, and you don't have to opt in for it or anything. But what I always do is I'll plug in numbers. Like if I want to make $100,000, I put that little number in. It tells me how many per year and per month, how many outreaches I need to make. So like how many, even if it's just like, hey, let's get on a sales conversation, how many sales calls I actually need to take, and then how many actual clients I need to take. And what it does is it kind of chunks it down. So what I always think of is like, okay, if I have this product or service I want to offer, I want to make $100,000 on it for the year. How many people do I need to talk to? Put it in there. Okay, I need to talk to 1,000 people this entire year. I divide that by 12. And then I make sure that on that platform, there are already curated groups of people or like lists in some way of people who I can prospect out of that. So like if it's, female entrepreneurs who have, therapy businesses, I would go look and say, hey, does LinkedIn have events where, hey, there's 100 people I could go prospect out of that group? So if you kind of understand where your numbers need to be at, you can kind of go to see in those communities, like, where are there enough people there for me to pull from? Usually there are, if you look kind of long and hard enough, whether it's a Facebook group, LinkedIn event, LinkedIn group, Instagram hashtag, whatever it is. But that can also help inform you about kind of where is going to be your hotspot.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. And I mean, as you were talking about the spreadsheet, I was like, are you sure you and Nancy are not related? Because that sounds like her dream tool. So I can't wait to see. And
I'm already downloading it as we speak. I'll be completely honest. I'm like, I have a whole goals spreadsheet thing that I love.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, but there's more? Like, yes.
Well, I did it. So Sarah, our wonderful client service person, made it because I said, I was trying to teach it on a whiteboard. And of course, like, it's an hour long, me trying to explain how to calculate it. And I had a spreadsheet, but it was just, would just pull the numbers. It's just, she made a little visual on it for everybody. And
so good.
It's really cute. So I try to give it to everybody because it also like helps to put goals within reach of like, okay, you want to make $100,000. You want to make $50,000. You want to make $1 million. What does that realistically look like in terms of how many sales calls you need?
Yep.
How many people you need to prospect, so you can really see like, is my audience possibly big enough? Is it too small or is it too big? Like you can kind of look at those and then you can just break it down. I used to put it in and then I'd say, okay, every 30 days, I need to prospect 50 people. Then I would break that down into 5 days a week. So for, and then every day I would spend 1 hour. I would make sure I just hit those numbers. So that way it just didn't seem as overwhelming that way, at least for me. Just
Exactly.
break it down.
I love how practical it is, and it just gives you insights that this is not luck, you guys. It's work.
Yeah.
It's work. It's charting it out. It's having a plan. It's having an intention. And I love how what the tool that you just shared with us gives us a way to hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah.
You know, and community is so great for that. Coaches are so great for that. But a tool like this gives you a plan. And you know, if you can be in action, right? That's where the breakthrough is. It's in the action. So thank you so much for that. That's so generous, Kate.
Thank
Oh,
you,
yeah.
Kate. This is amazing. Like
You
you
want
guys,
spreadsheets? I got them.
Oh yeah.
send them all my way.
Not to me, not for me.
Yeah, guys, like we are again, we're so proud of ourselves for the timing. So again, any questions for Kate, any last minute, ask. And if something comes up later, you guys can just email ucoachia@gmail.com. If you want to learn more about Ucoachia, you can do that, or click the ucoachia.com/join and check it out. But I know that today we'll all be hanging out with our sales calculator. It doesn't take me to the calculator. I'm guessing there's an email.
It
that's
says it
gonna come.
doesn't. No, it should take, just send them the actual Google Drive link.
Yeah, I didn't get it either, by the way.
Oh, really?
No.
No, she's going to send you the actual Google Drive link, and then you can just make a copy.
Okay.
Got it.
There's many versions, so she's looking. I don't know
Let's
if you
say,
want to.
I can mail it out to everyone.
Yeah,
It's not a big deal.
yeah. Anybody who wants it.
I
Yeah,
will
you
mail
don't
it
have
out.
to. Sorry, I told her the wrong link. So she'll pull it and send it to you, and you can send it out.
Awesome. So you guys
Okay.
can all expect a little surprise.
Yes. The gifts keep on coming. Kate, thank you so much for taking the time today and for being with us. It's always just, I learned something oh, look at that.
There it is, Sarah.
Sarah's
Sarah's on
fast. I'm telling you, Sarah's fast.
She's amazing. She's amazing. So everybody
so
make
just,
sure.
Yeah, just make a copy and save it
Yep.
and whatever, and then you can just do with it what you want. And then I just duplicate it like anytime I want to play. So I just have like 25 versions in my drive of anything I want to play with numbers.
Yeah.
Twins.
All right, everyone make sure they open that up so you have it for later.
Yeah.
And Nancy, who do we have tomorrow?
Oh, I believe it's Melanie is tomorrow.
Yes, Melanie.
Melanie. So Melanie is all about content and the content copy, and she is like a networking maniac. I have never seen anyone like this, and she can create in-person networking like you've never experienced. So you guys are in for quite the treat tomorrow to learn her skill set and what she can do to help kind of create those connections, go drive a business.
Yeah.
I'll be in for that for sure. Awesome.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy that sheet, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.